What if the bike you're riding or thinking about buying is part of a brand that won't even survive 2025? Sounds dramatic, right? But it's already happening. Today, we're breaking down 7 motorcycle brands that are collapsing in 2025. And I don't mean a dip in sales, I mean disappearing dealerships, major financial cracks, vanishing market share, and even rumors of full shutdowns. So make sure you watch till the end. Because number 1 isn't just in trouble, it's circling the drain. And if you own one, this might be your wake-up call. Number 7, Suzuki, the ghost of its former self. There was a time when Suzuki meant adrenaline. The GSXR series didn't just win races, it built a following. From the snarling 750s tearing up back roads to the legendary Hayabusa stretching the definition of speed, Suzuki wasn't just a brand, it was a rite of passage. Fast, raw, accessible. But in 2025, that legacy feels like a memory left in the rearview mirror. Suzuki hasn't launched a groundbreaking model in years. No new platforms, no jaw-dropping prototypes, no bold leap into the electric age. Just repaints, minor tweaks, and decade-old tech stretched past its shelf life. The GSXR 1000, still waiting on a proper update since 2017. The SV 650, a beloved machine, still selling, but also still stuck in time. While competitors like Yamaha push out advanced rider aids, variable valve timing, and hybrid power concepts, Suzuki feels motionless. Not because it can't move, but because it won't. And the dealers feel it. Across Europe and North America, Suzuki showrooms are shrinking. Inventories are thin. Support is inconsistent. Even basic parts take weeks. For many dealers, Suzuki has gone from a core brand to a side shelf. Still there, but quieter every year. Behind the scenes, it feels like a company pulling back. Not crashing, not collapsing, just fading. Gradually, quietly, like the engine winding down after the throttle's released. And for loyal riders, the silence is painful. No clear vision, no message from the top, no excitement to believe in, just silence. And the creeping feeling that Suzuki isn't listening anymore. This isn't just about sales figures, it's about trust. Riders who grew up on GSXRs and Bandits now look around and wonder, where did my brand go? Because loyalty is a two-way street, and Suzuki seems to have taken the exit ramp. Meanwhile, the competition is evolving. Kawasaki builds electric concepts, Honda pushes smart safety systems, even Royal Enfield is making noise. Suzuki, it's still selling the same bikes it sold 10 years ago, just with new stickers. The resale values are dropping, the forums are quieter. The brand that once screamed energy now barely stirs the market. Suzuki isn't dying from scandal or a bad quarter. It's dying from stillness. And in a world moving this fast, staying still is the same as falling behind. Suzuki didn't have to be the loudest brand, just present, just fighting. But instead, it left its riders looking for something that isn't coming. And when a legacy like that fades, it doesn't explode. It disappears. One model, 1 year, one missed opportunity at a time. But if Suzuki is fading into silence, the next brand is going out kicking and screaming. Not with a whimper, but with a war cry from another era. Still loud, still proud, but completely lost in translation. It's the sound of legacy clashing with reality, of thunderous engines in a world that's gone quiet. Because Suzuki ghosted its fans, but this bike's ghosting the future. Number 6, Harley-Davidson. Too iconic to die, too stubborn to evolve. Harley-Davidson wasn't always just a brand. It was a statement. Chrome, thunder, leather, pride. Owning a Harley meant you weren't just riding. You were declaring something, that you lived different, that you were part of something bigger. But in 2025, that image is collapsing under the weight of its own myth. Harley's average rider today is nearing 60. And the next generation? They're not even looking. Gen Z isn't buying into the brand's image of rebellion wrapped in ritual. The uniform, black vests, eagle patches, endless chrome, once screamed independence. Today it just feels like cosplay for a bygone era. And Harley hasn't helped its own case. Its bikes, once built for working-class freedom, are now priced like luxury goods. The average cruiser? north of $25,000, for a platform that hasn't seen real innovation in over a decade. Same frame, same feel, same dated tech. The updates, mostly cosmetic. Flashier paint, slightly different trim, and an ever-growing price tag. Financing one often looks more like a second mortgage than a spontaneous purchase. But it wasn't all stagnation. Harley did try to adapt. The Livewire was supposed to be the future, a fully electric bike with instant torque and sleek styling, a bold, necessary pivot. But instead of integrating it into their core lineup, they spun it off into a separate brand. It became a startup within a legacy giant. The message? Confusing. The audience? Alienated. The result? A $30,000 experiment that few people bought and fewer understood. Meanwhile, the core lineup remained largely untouched. The Milwaukee 8 engine still dominates, a charismatic but aging power plant that struggles to keep up with modern expectations. Competitors like Indian and Yamaha now offer better performance, more tech, and sharper styling at lower prices. Even Harley's own used models eat into new sales. Why pay full price for a 2025 Road Glide when a 2017 offers nearly the same experience for thousands less? And behind it all, the brand's cultural relevance continues to fade. Dealerships report aging inventories. Floor models sit unsold. Younger riders walk in, take a look, and walk right back out. They're not rejecting motorcycles. They're rejecting Harley's vision of what riding should look like. Because Harley-Davidson isn't losing ground to better bikes. It's losing to changing values. This isn't a collapse of engineering, it's a collapse of identity. What once felt like a revolution now feels like a reenactment. The bikes are still loud, but the message is getting quieter. And the silence, that's what makes it hurt. Harley-Davidson was always more than a brand. It was a brotherhood, a symbol, a sound. But when that symbol stops evolving, it becomes a relic. And in 2025, Harley isn't dying from competition, it's dying from tradition. Harley's trapped in the past. But the next brand, it's dying of speed. Where Harley died of hesitation, the next one is dying of excess. Too much growth, too much hype, too fast, too soon, and now it's all coming apart. Because when you chase performance at the expense of everything else, you don't just burn rubber, you burn out. Number 5, KTM. For years, KTM was the no excuses brand. Austrian engineering with an edge. Lightweight frames, overpowered engines, and a ruthless focus on performance. From Dakar to MotoGP, KTM wasn't just present, they were dominant. The orange brand built its reputation on speed, aggression, and an unapologetically raw riding experience. But by 2025, the machine is showing cracks. Beneath the racing trophies and factory sheen lies a brand in trouble. Global expansion stretched KTM thin. The strategy was ambitious: push premium models in the West and flood emerging markets with affordable, small displacement bikes. On paper, it made sense. In execution, it spiraled. Margins on entry-level bikes were razor-thin, requiring massive sales just to break even. But when inflation hit and global interest rates soared, consumers pulled back. KTM had built a manufacturing engine that couldn't slow down, and now it's running out of fuel. Parts delays have become the norm. Riders report weeks-long waits for basic components. Dealers across North America and Europe are frustrated. Stock is hard to move, support is minimal, and customers are growing impatient. What used to be a premium experience is becoming a logistical headache. Behind the scenes, KTM's supply chain is a maze. Complex partnerships with companies like Bajaj and CF Moto added volume, but also volatility. And after Bajaj offloaded its shares in 2021, KTM lost a key production lifeline. Now, even their racing prestige comes at a cost. Winning MotoGP races doesn't help when you're losing customer confidence on the showroom floor. Worse, KTM is still pricing its bikes like nothing's changed. Premium tags on machines that feel high risk in a world demanding reliability. Meanwhile, riders are turning to use Japanese bikes, not because they're exciting, but because they work. The problem isn't that KTM isn't fast. It's that it didn't slow down when it should have. The result? A brand that once felt unstoppable now looks unsustainable. Dealers are pulling out. Inventory is piling up. And for many riders, trust in the brand is fading, fast. This isn't a crash, it's a burnout. KTM didn't explode, it overheated. And now it's coasting into the future on momentum that's rapidly running out. If this countdown's hitting harder, smash that like button and subscribe. More brutal truths and buried stories are coming. You won't want to miss what's next. Number 4, Norton motorcycles. Norton once stood shoulder to shoulder with giants. From Isle of Man podiums to the heart of Britain's cafe racer culture, it wasn't just a motorcycle, it was a movement. Speed, elegance, engineering with attitude. The Norton badge meant pride, but history only carries you so far. And when the modern Norton returned, it wasn't to applause, it was to lawsuits. In 2020, the company collapsed under a cloud of scandal. Under the CEO Stuart Garner, pensions were raided, bikes went undelivered, and loyal customers were left empty-handed. What looked like a revival was, in truth, a cover-up. The result? Norton wasn't just broke, it was broken. Then came new ownership. CF Moto, an Indian powerhouse, stepped in. There was hope. Fresh capital, new leadership, clean manufacturing. It looked like a second chance. But rebuilding a brand is harder than buying one. By 2025, Norton's reboot is crawling, not roaring. Production delays continue to plague the factory. Dealers hesitate to stock bikes with shaky delivery timelines and even shakier demand. And the riders who once wore Norton jackets with pride? They've moved on. Or worse, they've stopped caring. Because the new Norton didn't return with smart, accessible bikes. It came back with boutique machines, hand-built, high-priced, and aimed at collectors more than commuters. Machines that look gorgeous on a plinth, but don't belong in the modern riding world. There's no wide dealer network, no reliable service infrastructure, no reason for the average rider to roll the dice. And that's the problem. Norton's comeback feels more like a branding exercise than a revival. All chrome, no core. A ghost of what once was, now dressed up in luxury pricing and vague promises. In an era where trust and support matter more than ever, Norton still hasn't earned back what it lost. It doesn't matter how beautiful the bikes are. If riders don't feel safe buying them, they won't. Because when you buy a Norton, you're not just buying performance, you're buying heritage, stability, identity, or at least you used to. Today, Norton feels less like a phoenix and more like smoke. A legendary name reduced to nostalgia and nervous speculation. And unless the company finds a way to rebuild not just its bikes, but its credibility, this won't be a comeback, it'll be a eulogy. Second chances are rare in motorcycling. Norton got one and proved that some legends are better left in the past. But what happens when a company doesn't just fail to deliver, it vanishes altogether, leaving customers, dealers, and even employees in the dark? The next brand didn't just burn bridges, it disappeared into the smoke. Number 3, Zero motorcycles. At one point, they were the future. Zero motorcycles emerged in the late 2000s as a bold answer to a question most people hadn't even thought to ask. What if motorcycles ran on electricity, not gasoline? In a world just beginning to flirt with green tech, Zero was already building. They didn't wait for the giants to move. They were the movement. Born in California, Zero's mission was clear. No gas, no noise, no emissions. Just clean power on 2 wheels. For a while, it worked. They built lightweight electric bikes that offered something different, something revolutionary. While Harley-Davidson was still refining internal combustion and Honda hadn't entered the EV space, Zero was already delivering real electric motorcycles to real riders. But being first doesn't mean staying first. By the mid-2020s, the cracks were showing. As other manufacturers entered the electric arena, some with deeper pockets, others with sharper strategies, Zero's head start began to shrink. Their bikes, once cutting edge, began to feel stagnant. Models saw only minor updates. Prices stayed high, sometimes unreasonably so. And with that, enthusiasm began to fade. A standard Zero commuter bike could cost upwards of $20,000, more than some electric cars. Charging infrastructure lagged. Range anxiety persisted. And for many, the dream of silent, sustainable riding started to feel like a compromise instead of a breakthrough. Meanwhile, the competition accelerated. BMW refined their electric platforms. Honda rolled out EV prototypes built for scalability. Chinese brands flooded the market with affordable, practical alternatives. And yet Zero stayed its course. Premium pricing, minimal innovation, and a shrinking sense of momentum. Dealerships remained few and far between. Updates became iterative, not groundbreaking. And with no major shift in vision or execution, Zero found itself adrift in the very market it helped create. Today, in 2025, Zero motorcycles still exists, but only just. The brand remains a niche presence, respected perhaps, but no longer leading. Enthusiasts still ride them. Loyalists still defend them. But the company's spark, the bold energy that once defined it, feels faint. Zero didn't crash spectacularly. It didn't go bankrupt or fold under scandal. It simply fell behind, slowly, quietly, and without a fight. The kind of loss that doesn't make headlines, but does leave a mark. In the story of electric motorcycles, Zero will always be the pioneer. But unless something changes, it may be remembered more for what it started than what it became. A legacy not ended, but unfinished. Zero was supposed to lead the charge. But now, they're running on fumes. And while some brands stumble chasing the future, others lose themselves trying to recreate the past. Because the next name on this list, it once stood for Italian passion, racing pedigree, raw mechanical soul. But today it's a passport stamp on a product that forgot where it came from. Number 2, Benelli, CF Moto. The Italian name that once whispered elegance and soul on two wheels. For over a century, Benelli meant something. Born in Pesaro in 1911, it wasn't just a motorcycle, it was Italian heritage wrapped in chrome and fuel. From the war-torn roads of Europe to Grand Prix podiums, Benelli earned its stripes. Grit, flair, and mechanical artistry, that was the DNA. But even legends can grow tired. By the early 2000s, Benelli had stalled. Aging designs, financial trouble, and a shrinking dealer network pushed it to the brink. Then came the buyout. In 2005, Chinese industrial giant Xianzhang Group, now operating globally as CF Moto, swooped in with a promise: revival, capital, factories, global ambitions. The name would stay Italian, they said. The quality? Better than ever. For a brief moment, hope returned. Models like the TNT and Leoncino turned heads. Riders saw glimpses of the old spirit, wrapped in something new, maybe even bigger. But something got lost in translation. As the years rolled on, the bikes changed, but not in the way loyalists had hoped. Materials cheapened, designs grew generic. Benelli's signature feel, the mechanical heartbeat, was replaced by platform sharing and cost-cutting. Riders started noticing the details. Plastic where there should have been metal, panels that didn't fit right, paint that faded, electronics that glitched out of the box. What once felt like revival now looked like rebadging. The shift wasn't sudden. There was no press release, no scandal, just a slow, silent erosion of trust. A soul slowly slipping away under the weight of mass production and market saturation. And the worst part? It's not that Benelli failed, it's that it stopped trying to be Benelli. Instead of refining legacy models, CF Moto flooded the market with badge-engineered variants. Keyway, MBP, QJ, all spinning from the same mold. The focus wasn't legacy, it was volume. Western riders began to notice, not just the issues, but the pattern. Dealerships unprepared, parts delayed, warranty responses in limbo. And the bikes themselves? Often beautiful on the outside, but compromised beneath the surface. This wasn't the boutique Italian brand they remembered. It was a ghost wearing its clothes. In 2025, Benelli still exists. The factories run, the logos print, the spec sheets look competitive. But the heart, the thing that made riders care, is gone. It didn't go out in flames, it didn't crash, it just faded, quietly. Benelli had a second chance to bridge East and West, to blend tradition with innovation. Instead, it got caught in the middle. Too Eastern for legacy lovers, too Western for new markets, too confused to lead. And what remains now is a name without a soul. But if you thought that was rough, wait till you see who's next. Because number one isn't a legacy brand clinging to its past, it's a rocket that looked unstoppable until it started falling out of the sky. Number one, CF Moto, the budget king facing a reputation meltdown. For a while, CF Moto felt like the future. It came fast, loud, and everywhere all at once, ripping into markets with sleek lines, flashy features, and price tags that made even seasoned riders take a second look. Ride-by-wire, TFT dashboards, traction control, LED everything. These weren't budget bikes. They were spec sheets that read like wish lists. And at half the price of anything from Japan, CF Moto didn't just enter the room, it kicked the door off the hinges. At first it worked. Riders flocked to dealerships, reviewers gushed about value, influencers posted lap times and lean angles like CF Moto had just reinvented the wheel. The 300 NK, the 450 SR, the 800 MT, each model a declaration that motorcycling could be affordable, modern, and bold all at once. But somewhere between the showroom and the long ride home, something changed. It wasn't a single failure. No smoking engines or catastrophic recalls, just a quiet accumulation of compromises, bolts that rusted too soon, dashboards that glitched, bikes that rode well until they didn't. Support emails started going unanswered. Service centers said they were waiting on parts. Some riders waited months, others gave up entirely, and suddenly the numbers didn't feel so convincing. Because when you're stranded with a check engine light and no one picks up the phone, it doesn't matter that your bike costs $3,000 less. What matters is that you trusted a brand. And now that trust feels misplaced, resale values plummeted. Forums turned skeptical. Videos once praising the bikes now carried warnings in the comments. I loved it until I needed help. And bit by bit, that early momentum began to stall. The truth is, CF Moto didn't fall because it lacked innovation. It fell because it mistook excitement for loyalty. You can sell someone a bike with specs and style, but you keep them with service and support. And that's where the cracks showed. In 2025, CF Moto still looks the part. The bikes are still beautiful, still full of potential. But potential without follow-through is a gamble, and more riders are starting to fold. It didn't have to be this way. CF Moto could have been the benchmark, a blend of value and reliability, a gateway for new riders and a disruptor for old names. Instead, it's becoming something else entirely, a cautionary tale. Not every fall is loud. Some happen in silence, under the weight of promises not kept. And CF Moto, once a tidal wave, is now starting to feel like a mirage, still visible from a distance. But when you get closer, the edges start to blur. It's not gone, not yet, but it's fading. And this time, people are watching. Want to see what's next? Watch the video that is on the screen right now. Also, make sure to like this video.